video section number 1 and 2 is what we're going to work on today. There's a total of 4 videos with this particular chapter. And so after each section, so here's section number 1 now that I'm sharing. This is from Buzz. You guys can do your fill in the blank thing as you're watching the video. And then at the end is discussion questions 1 and 2. You can pick whatever discussion question you want, and then you're going to write an initial post with that and then have 1 response. So you'll do that for each of the sections, which means that you'll have a grand total minimum anyway of 4 posts, 2 of answering the discussion question, and then 1 of responding to one of your peers. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay. So that'll be due, I'm going to just put a due date of tonight by midnight, or midnight Central Time, wherever you guys are at. But ideally, I'm trying to, those of you who are on, once we dismiss, which will be, we're just going to have a short little overview, and then I'm going to let you go ahead and get into your videos. You could work on that this morning during class time, but at the latest, midnight tonight Central Time. So that'll be the way we'll handle that. Okay, so any question? Let me pause for 10 seconds just to make sure there's not any questions. Okay, so here's our introduction into insurance. So with insurance, we want to try to get rid of some risk, right? So we've got, here's the 7 types that Dave recommends. And so we've got homeowners, auto, health, disability insurance. So disability insurance is if you get hurt on the job or hurt that you can't perform your job, I should say, is another type of disability. Sometimes you'll have disability for your, well, it's mandated by law, actually. If you do get hurt at work, you can have a disability claim that way. But you can also carry disability insurance. Like I went fishing this weekend, and if I would have did something that permanently caused me to not be able to teach class anymore, like maybe I got one of these spoonbills, which I should show you guys a picture of. It was pretty fun, but let me just to give an illustration, I guess. Okay, so unfortunately, this is like a really kind of a baby one. All right, so here we go. There's me this just Saturday. You guys can see that. So that's a spoonbill. I was in Missouri practicing social distancing on a boat. And if that sucker would have been the size that I was hoping for, which they can be 60 pounds and about 4 foot long, 4 to 5 feet long, let's say I would have gotten pulled into the boat, into the water, and somehow got water in my lungs, and I'm out for a year recovering. Maybe I got some water on the brain or something like that. Then I can have an insurance policy that would cover a fraction of my pay as a professor because I wasn't any longer able to do that. And so that's an example of disability insurance. So you don't die, that's life insurance. But you have this disability that keeps you from being able to do things the way you were, to do work the way you were doing it before. So that is our disability. Long-term care insurance, that is something you do when you're fearful going into the nursing home. So that is when you're 60 years of age or older is what Dave recommends anyway, to get long-term care. How many of you have grandpa or grandma in a nursing home right now? Show of hands or thumbs up. So not a fun place to be, of course, and it can be very expensive. So that can run, I've heard of it being $5,000 a month for rent if you're in a long-term care situation. And so it can drain all of your finances, and so you can have an insurance policy for that. Identity theft we talked about last chapter, and then finally life insurance, which is really death insurance for the most part. Life insurance has a better ring, as we'll see. So car policies, how many of you have a car insurance policy? Show of hands. Show of hands for car insurance. So most of you have that, so you can usually relate to that. And so we can kind of think about that as we go through a couple quick examples. Let's see. So with auto insurance, we have kind of the thing called the deductible. And what is the deductible? So let's say you've got a $500 deductible. Deductible equals $500. Brooks, you're first on my hit list here as I look at my list of people. So I saw you raised your hand. You have car insurance. Can you help me out? If you have a $500 deductible, how does that work with your insurance? Do you know?
Isn't that how much they will cover?
Yeah. No, it's not.
How much they don't cover.
Yeah, what they don't cover, right? It's what you have to cover. So what it is it's a form of co-insurance. So you're basically paying for part of the wreck, and the insurance company's paying the other part is with the deductible. And so it's usually, you know your limit. So you can choose your deductible of 500 or a deductible of 1,000. So imagine if you're, I want you guys to kind of put on an insurance company's hat. So you're running a business called an insurance company. The money that you bring in every month, does anybody remember what that's called? Actually, open up your chat boxes. I forgot I was going to do, this is kind of a nice way to do some of these. So open up your chat box, and first person to tell me what we call that thing that we pay every month gets an extra credit point here. First person on the chat box, what do we call that monthly payment? It's usually a monthly payment, doesn't have to be, but what is that money called? First person with it gets an extra credit this morning. Oh, I see the chat box is alive. Deductible, good guess, but no. The deductible is the part that we have to pay when we get into a wreck. So that's like the 500. So if you crash your car and you have a $500 deductible and your car had $5,000 worth of damage, the insurance company is going to give you a check for $4,500. Basically meaning the estimate you're going to have to pay. Any other guesses?
What's the question again?
What is the amount you pay every month called to your insurance company? There's a name that we use in the insurance business that the insurance business uses. So if you're paying, $150 a month for insurance, you're paying a check to your company for $150 a month. What do we call that payment? Oh, there it is. Hunter got it. Okay, so Hunter, extra credit this morning. Good job. So that is your premium. So it's the amount of money that you pay every month is your premium. So for starters anyway, that's kind of a good way to think about the two types of money. So we got a premium, which is kind of your monthly payment. Usually monthly, like I said, it doesn't have to be, but so whatever you're paying every month. So that's how the insurance company makes money. If we think about them being a business, is they're going to collect premiums from people, whether they get a wreck or not. So that's the exchange for the risk. And then their cost of doing business is when you actually get into a wreck, right? So if you get into a car wreck and there's $5,000 worth of damage, if your deductible is $500, the insurance company is going to cut you a check for $4,500. So that's an expense. So that's how insurance companies make money, is they have to set the premiums high enough so that if there's an accident, which somebody's going to have, and they collect lots of statistical evidence on this, then they're going to still make a profit by charging the right amount of premiums. So now the reason I wanted to walk you through that is that what do you think happens to your premium if you change your deductible, not $500, but you choose $1,000 deductible? what happens to your premium? Go to the chat box. What's going to happen to your premium? Yeah, good, Brooks. It's going to go down. So, good. So, once you increase that, now it makes sense, right? Now that we know kind of a few of the parts of the insurance game, is that if you get that $5,000 wreck, now the insurance company is only going to have to pay $4,000 and you're going to pay $1,000. So that's going to allow your premium to go down. So with the monthly premium going down, that works nice for your zero-based budget. So the kind of the underlying theme of this insurance chapter that I want you to keep in mind is how this relates to your budget activity. So again, get ready on your chat box here. What is baby step number 1? Baby step number 1. Pay off all debt? Nope, that's number 2. Hunter. Baby step number 1. $500 emergency fund is true, Brooks, if you make what? $1,000 is kind of the pat answer. That's usually the standard answer. It's a $1,000 emergency fund. So Maddie and Joey, good job. What is it? Yeah, there you go. Who wrote that? Xavier. So yes, if your income is less than 20,000, which is likely true for you college students for the most part, if you're just working part-time, then your emergency fund would be $500. All right, so baby step number 2 was to pay off all debt. What was baby step number 3? There we go, 3 to 6 months of expenses. So, and be careful with your language as you type that in. And I'm telling you this just more so you mentally start to remember it for the final exam, because you're going to have to know these baby steps. You'll need to have them memorized for the final, so we might as well start early. So Joey, with 3 to 6 month emergency fund, that would be getting kind of some partial credit, but not 100%. You really need to put 3 to 6 months of expenses for your emergency fund. So same thing to Xavier, 3 to 6 months of expenses of the emergency fund. Now, in all fairness, for Xavier, I mean, I did kind of ask what's the, well, no, I said what's baby step number 3. So the full answer is to have 3 to 6 months of expenses for your emergency fund. Okay, so now when you have 3 to 6 months of expenses built up, so imagine you're making $3,000 a month, and so your emergency fund at a minimum is $9,000, right? 9,000 up to 18,000. 3 to 6 months of expenses for emergency fund. So let's just say you've got a $9,000 emergency fund. Which insurance policy makes more sense? The one with the $500 deductible or the one with the $1,000 deductible? And you can check box that. If you have a 3 to 6 months emergency fund, which insurance policy is probably the right one for you? One with a $500 deductible or one with $1,000? Right, exactly. So Brooks and Maddie, a $1,000 emergency fund is going to be bringing down your premium. And so that's going to save you money on your budget, and you can afford it, especially if you think you're a good driver. The other side of the deductible part is, how well you do your driving. If you have more on the line in terms of how much money it's going to cost you, insurance companies know that people on average tend to be more safe. They'll drive safer rather than having too low of one, because they know they're going to be paying a decent chunk of the accident bill once it comes in. Okay, let me take a 10-second pause there. Any questions? So the second video section is going to get into homeowners insurance, which basically is for a fire. If your house catches on fire, or maybe it's a tornado or something like that, which just happened in Northeast Arkansas. I don't know if you guys saw that. And then the health insurance. So health insurance is going to get into some other areas with maximum out of pocket, which is kind of like the deductible in a sense. But what is your total amount of insurance that you have? If you did get the coronavirus, I've heard of some pretty big hospital bills. There's a newer thing out that I'll just highlight called an HSA, which is a health savings account, where you basically build up a big insurance policy and you have a high deductible. And so that's a little bit different than kind of the standard health insurance where you go in and you might have a copay or 80% of one and 20% you have to pay up to your deductible. Those are called a PPO. So we got HSOs and PPO. And I think that's enough said for today. So does anybody have any questions? All right.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Do we have to fill out the notes?
Yes. You mean
Okay.
fill in the blanks?
Yeah.
Yes, you still have to do the fill in the blanks. So as you watch the video, you can do the fill in the blank thing. The video is, right up here in the upper right-hand corner. You press play and you can kind of walk through the video, do the fill in the blank. So yes, that's still part of our homework, just as it was before. And then the next part is just for you guys to have this discussion on the discussion board. Any other questions? All right, go hit the videos. Class dismissed. I'll stay on the line if anybody has any questions. Heaven, maybe if you want to stay on the line, we can try to get you fixed up.
Hey Russ, do we do all the discussion questions at once, or just do them as we go? Like as we finish that section.
You mean the discussion questions as we're posting them onto Blackboard?
Yeah.
Just the ones for video section number 1 and 2. I haven't decided if we're going to do the same thing for the other sections. I have some activities. We probably won't for Wednesday. The videos will still be due, so you'll do the e-text, but I've got some activities planned for Wednesday, kind of similar to what we did last week.